Hi, this is Stan Fitzgerald, the Chief Political Advisor at Veterans for America First. At Veterans for America First, we are going to produce a series of podcasts relative to the America First movement. And in this episode, VFAF Ambassador Mallory Staples is going to interview one of our young stars in Georgia about the importance of the youth movement in the MAGA movement, Mr. Cooper GUYON. Mallory, I'll turn it over to you at this point.
Okay. Hey, Cooper, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mallory? Thank you guys for having me.
Oh my gosh, our pleasure, our pleasure. So fun to have you on today and hear from a very active citizen who is young. You have made quite a name for yourself already. Why don't you tell everybody what your political experience has been and how old you are and kind of how you got into that?
Yeah, so I'm 17 now, and I'm going to be starting college next month. But I started when I was 15. During the COVID pandemic, I had a lot of extra time on my hands, so I took that time and I wrote a book that big bestseller on Amazon, and I worked on a couple campaigns, including Majorie Greene's congressional campaign. I was there from day one, and uh, you know, we're in a fight for our country right now, and I saw that during the 2020 election. And even if I'm young, no matter what, I have to stand. Freedom's worth fighting for. So that's what I'm still doing, and I'm still engaged, speaking, and getting young people involved.
So let me ask you this. Why the MAGA movement? Like, why is that what you were drawn to, and why is that so important to you? How do you kind of speak to other people your age about that movement in particular, why you attached yourself to that?
Yeah, so for my generation, the 2016 election was our coming of age time. I was probably about 13 or 12 years old then, and I'd always liked history, but never really understood politics. And I got to the age where I started understanding. And, I think from the get-go, we all saw, like my family saw Donald Trump running, and, we knew that he had, and that making it great was something worth doing, because at that time our country was a shambles like it is right now, worse than ever right now. And I think for so many young people, including me, watching 2016 Trump against Hillary Clinton and was really what ignited so many more than ever to care about to be in the MAGA movement.
Yeah, I think it's been beneficial to conservatives to see. I mean, you bring up Hillary Clinton. We're living under a Joe Biden administration. It's actually been a little bit beneficial to take the gray out, I would think, and have it be so black and white. At least I do. It's easier to see evil for evil and good for good when the lines are drawn so definitively. And the Clintons certainly and the Bidens have kind of taken the gloves off in that regard, and shown exactly how they feel about the American people and the next generation. And in a way, I think it's been helpful, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say 100% that, how bad Democrats have gotten and how dirty the politics has become has really opened so many Americans. And, I think silent majority is a term we don't use anymore, because we're not silent, and we're fighting these people that it's not going to, that they vision for a country that is dark and scary. It's not what we want, and it's waking people up.
Yeah. Well, we've seen an unprecedented assault on children, in particular in youth, over the past couple of years, whether it's the mental health issues, depression that, was ushered in, as you mentioned, under COVID, and then now this outright assault by the fringe, LGBTQR, all that, to sexualize children and youth. And like the young people are just inundated with this agenda and this messaging. And I mean, what has your observation been about that? I mean, you're 17, you're much older than your years would indicate, but you're still considered youth. Like, what are your thoughts? I mean, as you've observed this rollout, I mean, in particular, in the past year, it's been under the surface, but we've seen it above the surface in an unprecedented way. What are your thoughts on that progressive movement?
I think we had a big moment in Virginia that showed a lot of Americans what was going on, and I really think that totally opened the floodgates of what's going on in our schools. And you know, when you really think about it, it's almost comedic, but it's scary that, you know, what the Democrats, they're fighting, the hill they're willing to die on is teaching kindergartners about sexuality and letting them choose their own sexuality. That's sick. And you know, we'll call it what it is, and it is very sick, and it is anti-Christian, anti-American. I mean, we're built on family values, and the notion that anybody in this country is teaching children that in our schools, it's sick. It's encouraging mental illness and generation. And you know, there might be people who are born with gender, but it's not the job of schools for them to encourage it, teach it, and just put this onto our youth, because it's just a scary thing that's happening.
Yeah, the government, I mean, Joe Biden even said it. They want to usurp the authority of the actual parents and break up the family and assume that role. What would you say to youth today about running for office? Do you feel like everyone should get involved like you have? Or what is your messaging to other conservatives your age who are awake and seeing what's happening to our nation?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can do to get involved. You know, running for office is obviously an end goal of mine. It's something that you've done, and it's something that I encourage good Americans who are ready for the challenge to do. And you know, young people getting involved. You know, I was 15. I wrote a book, and that was what got me involved. And working is so rewarding, because you know, you can move the needle in districts, and especially smaller districts, and elect good people to office, because that's what we really need. And if you think you're that good person that's ready for the challenge for office, you're not too young. As long as you meet that age requirement, I would encourage people to do it, because you know, we need patriots right now, because you know, we either stand up for freedom, or we remember what it was to be free, because we're at a turning point right now. And you know, we need people to stand up. So I would encourage young people to get involved in their local parties, start groups, talk to their friends, social media, involve on campaigns, and if you're old enough, run for office.
Oh, that's great. I hope we see a lot more of that. You know, when I think about young people, I think about social media. And a lot of the young folks that I've talked to, or who worked on my campaign or with me, or that I met who are conservatives, say that, you know, at their schools, for sure, but even online on social media, they're very hesitant to post things that might, you know, draw attention to the fact that they're conservatives. And that social media is such a powerful tool to reach large number. I mean, the left certainly uses it to reach youth. What are your thoughts on social media? What would you say to encourage, you know, young people that feel like, I can't step out in that arena, I can't step out in that platform, or I'm going to get crushed? I mean, obviously you wrote a book even, but like, what would you say specifically to encourage, you know, the younger generation when it comes to social media and being a voice for truth?
Yeah, it's hard, you know. I mean, that's what I'd say, is it is not easy. I've lost friends over it, personal friends, social media friends, people I never thought that would just care so deeply that I don't agree with them. I don't take that approach, because I love my neighbor like I love my brother, and so many people do. So you know, if you've got something that you believe in, you've got to stand up for it. You can't let what other people are going to say, what they're going to think, because they will say things and they'll think things. But you know, speaking out, and social media is our biggest platform for this generation and in the world right now. And we're the minority on social media, because the left squashes conservatives. So if you can get your voice out there, let the truth be heard, because the truth isn't heard enough in this country, then you've got to do it, because you can't be afraid of what people are going to think.
Absolutely. And what are the platforms that you find are the most friendly to conservatives? And like where you would get your news, where you would put out news, or where you would get your news? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've struggled with being censored on Facebook and YouTube. I had a 2-month ban on YouTube for doing an interview with a friend of ours, YG Nightstorm. And so, that's a heavily censored place. Truth Social is just taking off. It's not quite there yet that everybody's on it. But, I've actually noticed, ironically, Instagram. I've been able to put out my message every day almost on my story. Posts I see, commentary I have about whether it's the gender issue, election integrity, whatever it is, and I haven't been censored yet. Now I say that it might happen, but I've found that to be a good way to communicate and put things out, and you can control what you see on Instagram. So I don't have to deal with seeing a bunch of CNN posts.
Right. You can control your incoming information. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and somebody had on the gentleman who created the website, Just the News. And I thought that was interesting. I just appreciated it because I feel like, you really, as a conservative, you have to work to get news. Mainstream media is not going to bring it, like what we're seeing right now. There is civil unrest and governments collapsing and prime ministers stepping down left and right all over the planet. And the U.S. media barely covers it. So I appreciate finding, news sites and places that are doing that. And so was just curious what your thoughts were on where do you get most of your news? Where do you like
Well,
to?
I think in my house, whether my parents like it or not, Fox News is on a loop most of the day. But Fox News is definitely a big one. But I also if I want to go get totally middle of the road news, Wall Street Journal is great. That's unbiased, nonpartisan. I try to look at CNN every once in a while, but I can't take the crocodile.
Tough, right? It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
tough. We try,
It's
but
hard.
it's tough. But yeah, I mean, I think in a little bit of Newsmax as well, but trying to vary on different things. But Wall Street Journal is really good for nonpartisan, but Fox is really reliable for a lot of things.
Yeah. We've taken the Wall Street Journal for years and years and years. You're right. It's pretty solid.
Epic
Well,
Times that's a good one. It's
what was it?
the Epic Times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I follow them on social media as well. The Daily Wire is great too.
Yeah. Girl.
Are you a podcast guy?
I listened to the Duck Dynasty podcast.
I did not expect that. Okay, I like it.
That's
my gosh, it's so great. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just kind of wrap it up. I just have to comment too. I love you saying to the youth, it's hard, but just do it, because I definitely think we're living in unprecedented times, and comfort and being happy and being comfortable is just not the metric anymore. We've got a fight on our hands, as you mentioned in the very beginning, for freedom. But just maybe, give a battle cry, a final call to your peers, to the youth, and then we'll let you go today.
So, I come from the son of an immigrant. My dad came to this country when he was 17, and my mom's a school teacher. We're a middle-class family. Like a lot of Americans, we see the problems, and, politics has always been an important thing, but it never really changed our lives, who was president. But today in America, we're seeing every walk of life and every family, no matter where you come from, is being affected by this administration's policies. The inflation rate being at 9.1%. Higher than it's been in almost 40 years. And, we're seeing just the prices rising. Gas prices are at all-time highs. Our country's in trouble, folks. And, I think if you see that too, and you see that we live in the greatest country in the world, despite all that, and you're proud of our country, which I know so many Americans are, left and right, immigrants, Americans, middle class, first class, low class, all of them. Every American is proud of this country.
Mhm.
And we're fighting against people who are not proud of this country and want more of what the past 2 years have been under President Biden. And I think it's just so important that young people stand up and that we support groups like Veterans for America First. You know, they're fighting for our veterans while fighting for the movement, giving a voice to conservatives like us, and however they can support them and their candidates is just so important, because we've got to push good candidates across the line at the end of the day. And in 2022, we've got to reelect our conservative governor in Georgia and kick Raphael Warnock out of the Senate, send Stacey Abrams back into California, and have a race across the country. We can't do it without everybody. If you can't vote, then knock on doors. So we got to get
That's
involved to win. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. And then let anyone who's listening, who's like, hey, you know what? I want to connect with that guy. I want to follow him. Stay in touch. How can people find you? What are your social media handles, and what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you can find me at CooperGuyon.com, GUYON. My Instagram is Cooper_Guyon_9. And you can also find me on Facebook under the same name, Cooper Guyon. So please connect with me. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and my website. Subscribe to my YouTube, and we can do this together and save our country.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Cooper. You give me so much hope. You give me so much hope. Thank you for the life you're living and for partnering with us here at Veterans for America First. I agree with you. The country's worth it. We'll keep fighting. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Mallory, please tell people where they can follow you on social media.
Oh, okay. Great. Yeah. You know what? I've changed it just a smidge. So let me, do that. Thank you, Stan. So I'm Mallory Staples, GA on Instagram, and I believe that is the same handle on Twitter and Facebook. Put that in and I'll pop right up.
Well, I thank you both today for this wonderful and educational interview. And you all listening could please visit vfaf.org. That's veteransforamerica1st.org or vfaf.org. Thank you so much. And let's all vote America First.
Thank you.